Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's heavy metal review. We don't yet know what we're going to be listening to. I'm going to share the screen and we're going to go ahead and choose an album. So, Brett, can you see the screen?
Not yet. Yep, now we can.
Okay, so our friend Jeff Budd has
Hello, Jeff.
sent us a few comments, sorry. So we've already reviewed the album he requested previously, which was the First World War album. Can't remember the name of it. Sabaton, The Great War, a history edition.
Definitely a history of it.
We don't actually have any other requests, so we will go back to Jeff, Mr. Jeff Budd, and choose another one of his albums that he's requested. So there's a few here. Sorry, my eyesight's not very good. Pyramids,
Yeah.
Legend of the Bone Carver, Progressive Power Metal, At the Gates, The Slaughter of the Soul. So that's the album that started the entire genre of Gothenburg style melodic death metal. He does also suggest we must listen to a band called what's that called? Opeth. But then there's 3 albums there. I'm thinking maybe we choose one of the first 2. So either Pyramid Maze or At the Gates. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to the album that started the entire genre of Gothenburg style melodic death metal. As much as I'm interested by progressive power metal, I think I'm swaying slightly more towards maybe At the Gates.
All right.
The Slaughter of the Soul.
All right, that's the one we're going to choose. We're going to choose At the Gates. Okay. So,
wow. Okay.
Right. What we'll do now, then, I'm going to quickly pause this. I'll go and find the information on the album, and we'll be back with you guys in a second. Okay, so we have found the album. Let me just share the screen to share it with you. So it's an old album, 1995 was when it was released. So some 90s heavy metal, death metal, and it's only 34 minutes 10 seconds long. So let's have a look at it. There are 11 tracks on there. We'll just listen to the original one without the reissued bonus tracks and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a short album with very short tracks. So, there was a time not long ago where I would kind of turn my nose up at anything to do with metal, but not anymore. Not the new me. I'm quite intrigued by it, kind of wondering what it's going to be, and quite looking forward to it. Don't really know what to expect. Melodic death metal. So I guess there's going to be some kind of nice music to it as well. Would that be fair to say, Brett? Would you be expecting some kind of...
Yeah, that's what we have sort of from before. So yeah, and that's it. It'd be nice now to see, because obviously we've done more modern style. So this one now from the mid-90s is going to be interesting to hear. And as you said there, it's nice that the tracks aren't long, because as we know, sometimes with death metal or heavy metal, predominantly have very long tracks, and it can get very hard to listen to at times. But I think when they're shorter, potentially can be better for our sort of naive, untrained ears whilst listening to it. So yeah, let's see what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, quite looking forward to it. Thank you, Jeff, for that request. So yeah, we're going to be back with you guys very shortly. Have we listened to the album? So we'll see you guys in a second for the review. So we've now listened to the album, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I thought of it. So we'll get straight to the point. I don't know what you're smiling for. What are you expecting me to say here? Are you expecting me to say that I hated it? Because if you are, you're absolutely spot on. This was very much kind of what I've always associated heavy metal with, really. Now we've listened to three albums previously to this, three metal albums that really kind of got me thinking, and I enjoyed all of them to a certain degree. But unfortunately, this one was just kind of like everything that I hate put together. Like really loud sounds, growling, just really, really not my cup of tea, I think was the best way of putting it. So yeah, very, very disappointing. I was hoping for something, along the same lines as the previous three, something a bit interesting, a bit out there, more kind of the sound. What's the word?
Melody, yeah, whatever.
I actually thought this one was supposed to be to some extent, but I didn't hear it. It just sounded like a loud, rocky kind of metal-y music. So yeah, I could go on here, but I'll just be repeating myself. So yeah, I just didn't like it. It wasn't for me. Right, over to you.
Honestly, I don't think there's much more I can really say or add to that one at all. So agree what you said there, Lee, throughout. And it's kind of how I felt with a lot of the songs on the album. Generally, not a lot I could generally say about those. So yeah, this is when we first started and first listening or understood what heavy metal was to us. This is what we would imagine this what it was. To give it some credit, so there were a couple of tracks which were a little bit different to the others, which could have been a bit more alternative and that more sort of melodic style. But apart from that, it was a hard listen to. I feel bad because really in hindsight, I guess it was all in English. Probably should have looked up the lyrics, but I haven't because again, that's not what it was about. It's about sort of the music and what we're trying to listen to. So I don't know if you've actually looked up any lyrics yourself there, Lee, but I feel bad because I haven't done that and I've done a very poor.
Well, I haven't, and I'll tell you why I haven't. Because like when we normally listen to music, we don't normally have lyrics there. So for those of you that watch our channel regularly, we do a lot of German album reviews, and we do look at the lyrics. We do a translation into English because we don't speak German, so that's fair enough, right? But when something's in our own language, I don't see why I should have to read subtitles. Well, not subtitles, sorry, read the lyrics, because I should be able to hear it. But the fact is, I couldn't hear it properly. There's another thing I forgot to mention. So for me, that's a negative. Surely when you listen to a song, if it's got words in it, you should be able to hear it. Because it was growling, it was so loud, you just couldn't really make much out. So for me, that's
and that was sort of my point. So I was sort of saying we shouldn't have to do it. So that's why I haven't done it. But then we could argue some rap songs where they rap really quickly, even though you can hear, just to help be able to understand it a bit better. But I'll be honest, I think even if I saw the lyrics, I think part of the reason why I did is that even if I had the lyrics there in front of me, I don't think it would change my judgment enough to make a difference with that there. So, yeah, shall we crack on song by song?
Yeah, let's do it. So, song number one was Blinded by Fear. So, I wasn't keen on the start, and that was before the lyrics even begun. Don't like the lyrics. I said I don't like the lyrics. I think I meant to say I don't like the growling. Can't make out the lyrics is what I meant to say. Just couldn't understand anything. When I say couldn't understand it, I just couldn't hear what he was thinking about. It was a fast beat, and the growling was quite fast. That was all I noted for that.
Yeah, I actually didn't mind the actual start. The difference there, but it's cool, sort of heavy metal. And I said some things there. It's hard to sort of hear and understand what he's saying. We've got the sort of growling, what I used to call possessed sort of thing, which I know is pod heavy metal, but I said it's difficult to hear and understand. I do feel actually think it could have been a lot worse in some regards, where it could have been really grand, really sort of possessed sounds, but this one just sounded like I just had a really bad sore throat and just shouting a bit. I sense it felt very 90s feel to it. But yeah, like I said, this is what I'm going to probably say for a lot of the same songs there, and yeah, just not that good.
Okay, actually, that's a point. This was from the mid-90s, and I didn't actually I know you just said it did sound like the 90s for you, but for me, it did, the whole album, something I didn't really think about. It's only now that you've said it, and I just remembered that it's actually from the mid-90s. But for me, this could have been a sound from, I don't know, the last few years, like a modern album or something. So I didn't feel as though it felt like dated. It didn't feel old, personally. Then again, I'm not really used to this style of music.
Because of, to me, it seems like heavy metal from any period could all sound very much the same. Like, and this is why it's not great for us to review, because obviously, to me, we'll come on to it. A lot of the songs sound the same, but it's probably a more trained heavy metal ear, they can distinctly tell the difference, and probably could easily tell the difference between a 90s heavy metal and a more recent one. And generally, because I always associate heavy metal in the 90s anyway, just because of, I think that's when you first know about. I know they're not. I don't know. It's just sort of where I imagine it became more popular. Now I would still think of it from the 90s, just because I've just associated that period of time with that type of music. So some people would say disco 70s, and other songs for 60s. It's just there. So I think any heavy metal, I just assume with 90s. But I think it all does very much sound the same to me.
Yeah. Okay, so the next song was Slaughter of the Soul, which is the same name as the album. And I just didn't like this one from the off, right from the beginning. It had a fast beat again. To me, it sounded the same as the previous. And just pretty much everything I said about the previous song, I could say for this one as well.
I've literally pretty much written that word for word. I've written title of the album, so maybe more pressure in Lee's mind. Pretty much the same as the previous song, except for that the first song had that little bit of exactly the same. I really could not tell the difference. So anything I'll be saying, I'll just be repeating myself.
Okay. Okay, guys, we're trying to sort out the internet connection problem. So I've moved. See if that makes a difference. So the next song was Cold. So to my untrained ear, the beat seems the same as the previous two. Now there was a change of sound at one point in this song, which at least did give it a bit of variety. But other than that, it was the same as above. I thought the lyrics were slightly more audible as well. I could kind of hear it, make out some of the lyrics a little bit more. So maybe a slight improvement.
Yeah, same as before, which was the same as before there. And yeah, I just mentioned there was that tiny bit. I think it was probably about maybe 30, 40 seconds where it went a bit different, a bit, I'm using the word alternative. It's probably not the right word, but just went a little change of it, which was probably the best bit from it. Otherwise, same as before.
So the next one was Under a Serpent Sun. So this one was very heavy from the off. Now there is some variety in terms of speed. There was a light instrumental part, but look, overall, again, just finding it a really hard listen.
Yeah, so we go. So yeah, this right here was very different. It went straight into sort of it almost felt like real sort of head banging style heavy metal. There was at least with this one, I could tell this sounded different to the previous 3 tracks, so that I suppose was a plus. And then at one point there was just like a random just scream for about, I don't know what, 20 seconds, which I think is pretty hardcore heavy metal stuff. So that's probably pretty standard there. Otherwise, yeah, it did have a tiny bit of variation to it. And I've also said here, if this was, in a movie, like an action movie, and something action was going on, it probably work quite well. I'd probably quite enjoy it in that regards. But without it, just trying to listen to it and then review it, it makes it difficult to listen to. So I could see some promise in it in certain circumstances, and at least it was different. At least I could tell it was different to the previous 3.
The next was Into the Dead Sky. This was a surprisingly nice start. It was just like an acoustic, not much happening, but easily the best track so far. And I just got to rest my ears, which was nice. It was, I guess you could call it like an interlude, basically.
Yeah, it's a good way of explaining it. Yeah, my only criticism of it was only 2 minutes long. It was one of the shorter songs on the track on the album. But yeah, like a total change of pace, and it's a shame because in the back of my mind I was thinking, okay, so when is it gonna, kick in? It's obviously coming. Because I didn't realize how long it was at the start, and then I was just going, okay, and then I knew, almost finished it. I don't think anything that's going to come into it. There was also no singing, which unfortunately is a plus for me. But yeah, really nice. Into a good way. I saw reference. I'll talk about it again a bit later on. That sort of, it's almost like a nice sort of what I would call the halftime point. So it felt like it's a bit of a halftime break for what we had there. But yeah, the standout favorite song on the album so far.
Okay. Next one then was Suicide Nation. So that rest didn't last very long because this was very hardcore, shouty, loud, and just not my cup of tea. I wish I could say more, but I can't. That's pretty much all that comes to mind.
Yeah, I feel bad. I feel the same. I want to be able to say more different, but I struggle to do so. I've written here: normal service now resumes. Halftime break is over. Was this one I could hear the words? Is this where I think you could hear him say the lyrics "suicide" at some point? I don't know if there was something else I could hear the lyrics to, but yeah, fall back into the heavy metal side of things. Could be the same as the first few tracks before.
Yeah, World of Lies. I actually prefer this one slightly. Not the growling, didn't enjoy that, but I just thought the instrumentals were slightly better. It maybe perhaps wasn't quite as hardcore as most of the other tracks, but it was still very similar. There was a kind of a little voice in the background as well towards the end, I think. So probably I'd say maybe in terms of the real, hardcore songs on on this album, I'm not talking about Into the Dead Sky, and there's another one at the end as well. If you take those away, which is probably the best of a bad bunch for me in terms of the actual proper songs.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from there, and yeah, because the music. So I think the trouble was though the music was more to me more listenable, more manageable, but yet the singing actually felt a bit more intense, which kind of balanced out in those regards. And yeah, then there was actually also a little bit of voices and in the end, but also some really nice guitar work as well, which felt quite nice to to listen to. But otherwise, as you said there, in hindsight, it's pretty much the same as the others. Just again, you can tell there's a slight difference to it from it.
Unto Others had a very hardcore start, very hard to listen to. There was an interesting small part, which was, I was struggling to explain it. It was almost sort of just vocals you could hear, kind of the instrumental went right down to a very sort of low level. And that was quite unique on this album. It's kind of the only time really that we actually heard sort of vocals without much of sort of sound behind it.
Yeah, so I was going to always say it's exactly the same. I really can't tell the difference apart from you had that bit there. And then, but unfortunately for me, and this is probably saying more about me than now himself, I did start to zone out by the end and think, oh, so yeah, it's getting a bit full on in those regards. But yeah, apart from that bit you talked about, it could have just been the same, unfortunately for me.
Okay, the next one was Nausea, which is pretty much how I was feeling listening to this album. Look, I didn't have much to say. It just seemed to be same as almost all or most of the previous tracks. Just yeah, same sort of thing.
Yeah, so I've put here, this is like going back to the first 3 songs at the start. This could have just been part of that same group. I haven't put a joke here about feeling nausea, but that's all I'd put about the song itself. And yeah, I can't say anything more.
And the next one was Need. What I found interesting about, I was going to say interesting, probably not the right word. It seemed as though it was just a continuation of the previous song. So Nausea did kind of slow down at the end, but then Need kicked off with what sounded to me like, an identical sound to Nausea. I did like the kind of windy sound effects and the bell ringing, and that sort of at the end, which sort of gave my ears a little chance to rest. So fair play for that. But otherwise, yeah, not up to much.
Yeah, I can't say anything differently in hindsight to anything. So we'll just move on to the last song, I think.
Flames of the End. So that was the last track on the album. This one felt different. There was no growling. Still didn't particularly like the actual kind of instrumentals, but this was by far and away the second best track on the album after Into the Dead Sky. So I don't usually actually say this. I've actually got a very clear top 3, whereas normally on an album, I'd struggle to tell you what my top 3 were. There might be certain songs I liked, but I wouldn't be able to put them into any order. With this one, I can. Into the Dead Sky was my favourite song on the album. The Flames of the End was my second favourite, and World of Lies was my third favourite. There we go.
Yeah, spoiler, they're probably my top 3 as well in that same order as well. So we agree on that one there. But this felt nice, and this like so before Into the Sky, we had sort of the half time. This is almost like full time doing like a cool down. It felt like a nice, after you've done a massive intense workout, a good little cool down song to it. I can see, like I said, there's in bits you probably wouldn't like, and even some of the high pitched noises. I think in any other sort of album, any other song, I probably still wouldn't have liked. But for this, I actually quite enjoyed. And it was good to hear something a little bit different, and at least broke up the album a bit there. But it's hard when you're comparing to other songs that you're really not enjoying. It could have probably done anything to have done something different there. But that aside, I still want to be positive, and I'd say I did enjoy it regardless of how bad the other songs were. But yeah, as I said, nice sort of cool down one. Nice way to ease off the finishing of the album.
Okay, so if we're going to sum up, yeah, like we said earlier, really didn't enjoy this album, but at least there were those 2 tracks that didn't include any vocals, so that was, nice. But this was the kind of metal that I was hoping to avoid, So it's a bit disappointing that, this one was requested. Would have loved to have listened to something, more along the lines of what we've previously listened to. Yes, it's just not for me. I mean, this could this could be what are considered the best heavy metal band in the world, for example. I'm not saying they are, but I just still wouldn't like it. It's like, just don't like this genre of music. Well, I say genre, I don't like this subgenre of metal. Let's put it like that, because there are some subgenres that we have listened to that, as you know, didn't mind them at all. But this is very much not for me.
Yeah, again, I'm not going to say too much because, again, I'm just repeating the same sort of thing. So I do kind of feel the same way you do. But what I will say is, obviously, we had those 2 tracks, which were obviously very different. So it shows that they do like that stuff or can do that stuff. So I don't know, maybe they've done other things where they can almost put some of that into some of the other tracks we were listening to, which is more like melodic style heavy metal, where you've got the sort of relaxed kind of music and then bringing that stuff into it. Would it make the songs better? It's hard until they actually do it, but the fact is they can do something different. They have done something different. They're just separately different tracks to what they normally do.
Okay, so that concludes our album review today. Sorry we couldn't be more positive, but we do value honesty on our channel. I'm sure if we praise the album, and didn't tell the truth, then maybe it'd get us more subscribers, more likes, whatever. But we'd like to be honest, and it just wasn't our cup of tea. But look, guys, thank you for watching. If you've got any more requests, let us know in the comment section below. Be happy to hear from you. And I think that's pretty much it from us. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.